I'm going to start this video today with a big thank you to my little buddy, BRITTON. His courage in the video that he made for his autism, and he said I helped him. I personally don't see I did a lot, but just to have that said to me from him meant everything. So he has inspired me to bring forward me doing this video of my ailments and how I live with them and how potentially it may be passed by because it's not a seeable condition. Similar to what BRITTON was saying about his autism, how it's not seeable, so you may therefore not know it's there. Yeah, that's today's video. So hello everyone, welcome back to Through the Pages with Dee. Hello book family, and to anybody else who sees this video. This is a slightly different video from me today. I was inspired by my buddy BRITTON to do something a little bit different. I've been thinking about doing this video for a bit now, and I wasn't sure how to go about it. So I just thought I might as well go for it. BRITTON did, so why not? If there's anything we can take from BRITTON, that is an inspiration, so let's just do this. So as you can see by the title, it's to do with my health issues. So I thought I'd just explain really what it is that I have, firstly, and how that affects me on a day-to-day basis, because I feel that if there is anybody else out there suffering in the same way, so to speak, for want of a different word really, we could quite easily communicate and talk, and sometimes you just need somebody who has some sort of understanding as to what it is you're going through. So yeah, that's just what I thought, so may as well go for it. So one of the conditions that I have is called fibromyalgia. It's quite a newish condition. I think I got diagnosed in 2019 after, I would say, probably maybe 5 years of suffering and not knowing what it was, and it gradually got worse. So what fibromyalgia is all over body pain. It is in the muscles, it can cause headaches, it can cause brain fog, hence maybe sometimes why I struggle for words. It can cause all different kinds of symptoms, mostly relating to pain, and you can have some symptoms of IBS along with that. So I went to see a specialist pain consultant and got my diagnosis in 2019, just before the Thing That Shall Not Be Mentioned came out. And along with that and the diagnosis, you're obviously stuck at home, which didn't help my situation. I was in quite a good condition. I would say probably 3 years prior to that. I was the slimmest I've ever been, because I've always yo-yoed in my size. I've always been big and then small, and then big and then a little bit smaller, and then quite big, and then a little bit smaller. But I got quite what I would call slim, what everybody else said. You know, I didn't need to lose any more weight. Especially my daughters, they were ragging on me quite hard, saying, "Please don't lose any more, Mum, because you're looking quite gaunt now." So yeah, and slowly but surely, because of the pandemic and because of the way my health was, I put quite a bit of weight on, and I went quite big again, and that just made everything worse. And fibromyalgia, I don't know if people are aware, but it relates a lot to your mental health. So if you have mental health issues such as anxiety, depression, things like that, the two usually go hand in hand. And I was suffering with some mental health issues. The anxiety I hadn't had for a while, but it did decide that it was going to make an appearance again. So I was suffering with some panic attacks, but mostly it was the depression, and that then enabled the pain to kind of take a better hold, a stronger hold. And the job that I was doing at the time was very hands-on, very manual, and I was having a great deal of difficulty in doing it. So because of the pandemic and other things, I came away from that job and I didn't go back. And then it left me in this position where I actually haven't worked for 5 years. I've been out of work for 5 years. I'd had my daughters. I came out of work to raise my daughters, but other than that, I have worked since I was 17 years old. I've worked my entire life. So to be out of work for this long is quite an impact on your life. And what it does do is it then gave me this added problem of not wanting to go out then. Then I got agoraphobic and didn't want to go outside. And every time I would try to go outside, I would have a huge panic attack and I couldn't do it. And that lasted for probably a year and a half, 2 years. At the time, I had a partner who did help me through that. My daughters also helped me through that. Then other things started to happen. I started to have these weird beat episodes in my chest, and I didn't quite know what that was, and it was scaring me. And then I had one particular episode where I didn't feel right. It was probably midnight, 1 a.m. Really didn't feel right. My palpitations were going like mad, and I was absolutely adamant I was going to pass out, but it felt worse than just fainting. It felt like I was going to die. So we went to the hospital in the ambulance, and it's after 4 days of being in hospital, I was diagnosed also with arterial fibrillation, which means that now my heart beats at an irregular beat as and when it pleases, which is very uncomfortable. At times it can take the wind out of me because the power with which it skips beats is quite impactful. So I struggle with that. I've seen a heart specialist and a consultant, and they've basically said that my heart is fine. It's just that this happens. And believe it or not, a good sort of 80 to 90% of the population have this, but they just don't know it because they just don't feel it. But I feel it quite intensely. And then alongside that, I then started to have this issue where my calves and feet started to swell. And they have a funny tinge. I look like I've basically got a pair of purple socks on. Let's put it that way. And I've been looked at for that. And it turns out that potentially, there is no definitive answer as yet, but that could potentially be lymphedema. And the answer to that was basically you need to lose weight. But that was a very difficult thing to do because I was then in this vicious circle of fearing going outside, but then not having the energy or the strength to really do anything. And it was just a merry-go-round like this. So then this is all impacting on my mental health. So I can't do this and I can't do that, so it's impacting my mental health. So for a good few years there, I had a really hard time. I'm on medication for everything that I have. I have painkillers for the pain, because if I didn't, there'd be no way that I could get out of bed. Then I also have medication for my heart to slow it down. Basically, I'm on beta blockers to slow my heart down. It doesn't stop the arterial fibrillation. It doesn't put a stop to it, but it obviously puts me less at risk. And then, because the situation had got so bad and I'd gained so much weight, and I wasn't really in this mindset where I felt like I could look after myself, and I felt like there was any sort of point to that, because I already felt like I was in this hole of how am I going to get out of this? I just don't see any value of life at this moment in time. I then, because of being overweight, found out my cholesterol was high. And so I then was told that I'm at double jeopardy of a stroke. So if there's ever anything that's going to basically kick your ass into gear, it's being told that you have this double jeopardy of stroke. So I made a vow to myself to lose weight and get back moving. But I had to overcome things to do that. I had to overcome the agoraphobia. I had to overcome some elements of the pain. I had to completely change my eating habits, which I did. And I lost 3 stone. I went on a Mediterranean diet. I walked every single day and I lost 3 stone. Over Christmas, that kind of waned off because I have this other thing that hasn't been diagnosed as yet, where when I go out into extreme hot or extreme cold conditions, I get a pain in my chest. Feels very similar to indigestion, but it's not indigestion. It has very similar feelings, but it's not actually indigestion. But what I found was that if I walked through it and just took my time, eventually it wore off and I could continue to walk. As long as I didn't stop and I just continued to walk, it was fine. But if I had that pause and then went back to walking, or I went indoors and then came back outside, it would kick in again. And that still happens to this day. So when I say on videos sometimes that, that my daughter's the reason I get out of bed, or this is what I do, I don't work, these are the reasons, because it's very difficult to kind of explain to a potential employer that I have this, this and this, and there may be days where I can't come in. And that's not really giving off this employability vibe. It's not really saying, choose me, I'm reliable, I am a reliable person, and I will give 100%. But because I can't commit to knowing how my health is going to be, then that makes things very difficult. But I felt the main purpose behind doing this video was, for one, if there are other fibromyalgia sufferers out there, you feel like you sometimes are not taken seriously, because it's not something where there's a big neon sign flashing that this is what I have. It's very much a hidden sort of ailment. It's a hidden ailment that, because I can get dressed most of the time, and because I can go out of the house now, and because I can put a smile on my face, it may look to people like there is absolutely nothing wrong with me. And that can apply to some other things. For instance, like Britton said about his autism, because it's not plastered on his forehead that this is what he has, you wouldn't know unless you have experience around people with autism or Asperger's. In which case, because you spent time around those people, you can potentially see some snippets of signs. But unless you spend time around people with fibromyalgia, you don't really know. It's not easy. It's not easily to see. It's not easy to see. And there are lots of ailments that are like this. And I suppose the main point of this video is to bring awareness to the fact that just because an ailment is unseeable doesn't mean that it's not there. You may think that somebody could be exaggerating when you speak to them because they look healthy enough, they look fine, and you may think that it's an exaggeration. But it's not necessarily an exaggeration. You may look at me and think I look fine, I look healthy, I have a kind of a bit of a, pinkish glow to my face, and I'm smiley, and, I try and crack jokes. But that's not how every day is for me. That's sometimes why I also say, health allowing, I will do the videos. That, it's just sort of there may be that day when I can't. We have what's called flare-ups. I don't have them as bad as some people I have actually spoke to. But some people, I have suffered them. Some people can suffer a flare-up that is so severe that they are stuck in a bed for a week plus. And this is just fibromyalgia. This isn't anything such as diabetes or cancer. So I think more acknowledgement needs to be made to the severity of what living with fibromyalgia is like. Because, like I say, as much as it's not blinkered, and we have signs that say, oh, they've got fibromyalgia because, I don't know, our face is a different colour, or our tongue is blue rather than it being pink. Because there are no actual visible signs to you, it may come across that there's nothing there, but there is. And it's very, very painful at times. I know a lot of people who I've spoken to on forums and groups who suffer quite severely with fibromyalgia, in quite a lot of pain, can't even bathe, can't even shower. You kind of sometimes feel like you're a prisoner in your own body, and you can't, do the things you used to do. I've done things like a reverse bungee. I've done roller coaster rides. I was quite an adrenaline junkie in my teens, 20s, even so far as early 30s. I had no fear of things like that. And now it's a case of I have to second guess most things. For my daughter's birthday recently, just for instance, as to what it can be like, went to where my daughter is in Sheffield, and we planned to have some piercings done. And you have to fill out a consent form, obviously, for insurance purposes. And I was then asked, have I crossed this with my doctor, that I'm okay to do this because of the heart medication that I'm on? And I said, no. Oh, well, we may not be able to do that then. Excuse me, my throat's dry. So she then spoke to her manager, and he said he wouldn't want to risk it, which I appreciate. I don't want to put them in a position as a company, because I don't know if something would happen. I don't think it would, but it's been a while since I've had a piercing done, quite a long while. So I was disappointed, though, that I couldn't do that. It felt as though some element of who I used to be, yet again, had been taken away. And it's out of my control. There's nothing I can do about it. But you adjust. You adjust your way of life. You adjust how you think about life. When you're put into a circumstance like this, where you find news out like this, and you know it's going to be life-changing, you start looking at things in a different way. And silly things have more meaning. Silly things that to some people might be just a by-the-by thing, they have a lot more meaning when you know that certain things are at risk. So yeah, I just wanted to bring some reality to what living with fibromyalgia is like, and then with the added bonuses, shall we say. Yay, it's like pressing the what they call fruit machines and getting that bonus one where you get that extra bit. With the heart conditions to boot, and I have two heart conditions. I have AF and I have what's called ectopic beat. So they work nicely in conjunction with each other. So I don't suffer with the heart every day. It might do it once a day. It might do it once every other day. It may do it 5-6 times in a day. It completely varies. There's absolutely no pattern to it. It just does it as and when it wants to. But I just wanted to sort of put that out there in case anybody may have heard fibromyalgia mentioned and possibly think, well, I've never heard of that before, what's that about? Or AF or ectopic beat. If none of these things have ever been heard, then you wouldn't know. And just maybe to bring awareness, to say, it's not a nonsense ailment. I can absolutely testify to that. It can be very I can't say that word. It can be very sort of painful, and like right now, for instance, my back is hurting a bit. So it can be a painful. That's the whole thing. It's pain. It's muscle pain. It's body pain. Not the most pleasant thing to live with, but you get through. You know, you make the best of a bad situation. And I just wanted to bring awareness and say, this is what fibromyalgia is. This is what it feels like to live with. So if you hear the term ever, somebody says, oh yeah, I've got fibromyalgia, just so that you don't think, well, I've never heard of that. What's that? They may want to explain, they may not. I have no fear with explaining anything to do with me. I'll tell you anything that you want to know. But it's just to sort of say, well, maybe now you know a bit more, and you can kind of understand why that person may have down days, or why that person may not come across as who they once were, where they were quite bubbly and full of life, and maybe quite adventurous, and you know, maybe why now they're taking a step back and not doing those things. I mean, I used to like to go out and have a drink. I've not drank for, I think it's 5 years now, because of all the medication. But, you know, you just adjust, don't you? You adjust, you change, you think of what else can you make out of life now then. Thoughts that you probably had at one time, you think, right, okay, I have to readjust that now and think of it in a different context. And it won't beat me. You know, it has its effects on me, and some days are harder than others, but it won't beat me, and it won't define me. And my fibromyalgia and my heart conditions don't define me. They're just something that I live with. They don't define me. So, yeah, just, I don't know, I probably rambled for no gain whatsoever there, but I just thought, if there is anybody out there who maybe doesn't know what that is, or if there is anybody out there who does suffer with what is considered as a non-seeable condition, then I get it, I understand. And, you know, I'm always around to discuss those kind of things. I would never say to somebody, oh, I don't have the time to talk about that. I absolutely have the time to talk about that. I used to go on forums and do a daily post of something positive. Just because, you know, the world's pretty crap as it is sometimes, and when you've got things like this to deal with as well in your life, you don't constantly necessarily want to know how bad it is. What you want to see is some hope. Yeah, and I'm pretty much about the hope and the positivity. So I'm trying to be positive and hopeful. I try every day. Try and set a goal every day for myself, whether it be to do with YouTube or reading, or, you know, something to do with one of my daughters. You just got to make the best and smile and give yourself praise for the fact that even if it's the smallest thing that you did today, you did it. You know, even if you managed to put a sock on, you did it. Don't deflate yourself by saying, oh, I only got one sock on. No. Have pride in yourself that you got that sock on. Don't do it the other way around and go, yeah, I only managed to get a sock on. 3 days ago I managed to do my socks and my pants. Every day is going to be different with this, and it can be hard, but you've got to roll with the punches with fibromyalgia and take the good with the bad. And when you get the good, you have to make the most of it. But you do have to reward yourself at the same time and give yourself some positive praise and say, I'm a good person and I'm going to get through this. So yeah, that's a bit more of an insight into me, maybe. Like I said, I don't mind sharing. I have no problems with sharing. But if you want to share, and if you are looking for somebody maybe who's not family, who you could potentially reach out to, I've got ears and they're made to listen. So, you know, just try and keep yourself as positive as you can, and be sure to at least reward yourself once a day, because like I said, it's hard enough. So you've got to take positives from somewhere. And even if they're just small, at least give yourself some sort of positive every day. So, yeah. Okay, that said, I shall go now. I've got quite a few books that I need to read, and I'm doing a buddy read of Grady Hendrix, which is going well. I'm actually really enjoying the buddy read because we're sharing thoughts and we're laughing at the same time, and we're sharing jokes. So it's really enjoyable. And just to every single person out there who I have ever spoke to on the tubes, who I've spoke to on Discord, and we've had a back and forth. I appreciate all of you. And my family, my daughters, they're amazing. Don't know where I'd be without them. So yes, positivity, it does not define me. I define me. And let's leave it on that note. So guys, until I have something else to waffle your socks off with, I shall leave you all to enjoy your Wednesday. I will see you probably again on Friday, potentially with a book review this time. But until then, I've been Dee, and I will see you all through the pages. Bye bye.